Hello everybody, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Gabriel Brent, and if you're not familiar with who I am, I'm the designer, programmer, trader of the AppZone software, and today we are going to be looking at live market conditions together, as well as doing some technical analysis and hopefully just a better understanding of the software and how to apply it. Okay, so let's get started here. All right. Now, beforehand, I asked everybody to go ahead and um, ask questions about the software and any technical aspects of the software. We do have a couple of those, so I kind of want to start out today with those a little bit and going over the settings of the AppZone software. We have some new people here, and thank you guys for joining me today. I want to make sure that everybody understands this. A lot of the information that you are going to need, or that you're probably really looking for, already exists. You can find a lot of that by going over to the AppZone's website under the video pages here. So let me bring that up real quick. And it really is, the video section or the member section is hopefully going to be a really great resource for several new traders if they're looking to just copycat somebody that's already profitable. I know that may sound like cheating, but you know what? We're not in school anymore, so feel free to copycat somebody else that's already doing something that's right. You know, there's no problems or no issues with us copycatting in the trading world. So there are trade plans and stuff listed under the video section, just so that you guys know. Under the how-to and training, that's a good place to go for a lot of these type of recorded webinars. I put them there, maybe under the NinjaTrader videos, because a lot of the stuff that I do is NinjaTrader related. You know, we have videos about how to set up the software, all kinds of stuff like that. Some of those are a little old now. Actually, they could be really old. We also have some new webinars as far as trading psychology and all kinds of stuff like that in there as well. So that's there, and if everybody hasn't watched this yet, I'm really fond of this price action video series. I recommend that everybody goes there and checks out basically how I came up with the zones and how I trade them today. So, but getting into the questions of the basic indicator setup tools, let's just look at the AppZone software here. And on the right-hand side of your NinjaTrader panel, and it obviously looks different for TradeStation. You may want to go over that today too. We have the strength of 3 on there, and the strength is actually a very interesting thing. What that does is it tells us how many bars are used in the calculations of the zones. And without getting too technical on everybody, basically the rule of thumb to apply with this is the lower the strength, the more zones that there's going to be on your chart. The higher the strength, the fewer zones that there are going to be on your chart. Okay, so that's the general rule of thumb. Okay, and the other general rule, if you will, is for my 15-minute charts and above, I like to use a strength of 3, and for 15-minute charts and below, I like to use a strength of 5 or greater. Okay, so that's That's the other general rule of thumb. Now, how the zones are created and how they're drawn and all that kind of other stuff, that'll be here in a couple of different settings areas, but we'll get into that too. The next thing is the bounce alerts and stuff like that. I was actually talking to another user yesterday, and I asked him, so how can I make the zones better? And he was thinking just to have more alerts type of thing. Like I'm going to try to work on building something to put in the market analyzer so you can look at a whole bunch of different instruments at one time and everything just pops up on the market analyzers or the radar screens and stuff. So that's something that I would like to put in Apizones for as I'm working right now with that piece of software. But we do have audible alerts right now as far as waves go. You can actually browse your wave folder with the software, which is kind of cool. Most indicators don't allow you to actually see all the different files and just select one. You have to know what it's called and blah, 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 you know. It's a little bit more tedious there, so that's kind of cool. You can enable the alerts or disable them, sound only, or sound and alerts, so that's kind of cool. And then the colors. And the colors we're really looking for the aqua and blue zones. That's the ones that we care the most about. Orange, purple, and so on and so forth, like those are all fine, but we really want to pay attention to the aqua and the blue zones, or when aqua turns blue. Okay. So that's the most important there. And then I find this really helpful. But you can actually change the font size and the color. The font size to me helps because now that we have Apizones MTF, I can keep the Apizone software at one size, and then I can take the Apizones MTF and I can make it a little bit bigger for the 15-minute chart and a little bit smaller for the other 15-minute chart that it looks like I'm loading on this one. So actually let me do a 5-minute there, and we will change this one to that and this one to that, like so. Alright, and then you have all these visual settings down below here. So that's the basic settings of the zones. Now, the zones do get a whole lot more complicated than just those things because this is support and resistance and supply and demand type concepts. Alright, so I realize that not everybody's going to see these ideas the same as I see them. So I programmed in a little bit of leeway there. So what you can actually do is, like, let's say you have zones locked or unlocked, but for this application we're going to need them unlocked, so make sure that that's unchecked in the drop-down. And you can actually move these zones around if you want to. So I kind of see that area as being more important as far as this top 15-minute zone is concerned. I like that zone just a little bit better and how that looks, especially after a couple retests there. I want to be more observant of that area versus the really big consolidation area that's down here. That's pretty much where price spent all of yesterday. You know, yeah, it is all consolidation down there, and I understand why it drew it there, but I'm just going to take the top part of that consolidation as the 15-minute zone on this particular time frame. Okay, so I hope that answers some questions there on some basic setups for you there, John, as far as that stuff goes. Can I say the strength? Oh yeah. Okay, so for 15-minute charts and above, I like to use a strength of 3. That's where I like, you know, just any market out there. If I have a 15-minute chart and above, I'll push that strength to 3. And then 15-minute charts or below, you could also put on a strength of 5. And like maybe you're coming up to a market that you've never looked at before. But I use 15-minute as really um, the plumb line there on the strength setup. And you can put the zone strength as high as you want to in the indicator settings. On the drop down panel, we only make it go from, actually that's the old version here. On the ones that you guys have, it goes all the way to 10, but you could actually push it up to 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever you wanted to do there. But the drop-down menu only has to 10. So found most people only use those few settings from 2 to 10. And notice you cannot select one. It's a physical impossibility. So just so you guys know. So hopefully that answers your question there. Yes. The question is, so would it be fair to say for the lower time frames, the higher the strength and vice versa? Correct. Correct. I like to do that. Now, while I do like to do that, I also am looking at, let me take off everything off of this chart here as far as other zones, and look at 150 tick zones. For some reason on crude, I found myself really, really liking the 150 tick zones. They just seem to work for me. So I think the bottom of this was down here, but for a long period today during the crude oil movement, we were moving back and forth in between this 150 tick zone and another 150 tick zone down here. And I actually posted a screenshot of that movement, so it was just going boom, ba boom, ba boom, and it actually it was, I think, something right around in that edge, because that was like the first bounce on it, and it was like, aha, so we knew what it was doing basically. So it was kind of interesting to see that all transform. And I do have a question for you guys. We have a few different markets that we can choose from. If you guys would put your favorite market to watch, since we're going to be analyzing price action a lot today together, as well as my setups and things like that, why don't you go ahead and put in the markets that you guys are watching, because I realize CL moves too fast for some people. So I just want to do whatever most people watch. Okay, we're getting a lot of ES, okay. ES, TFCL, okay. So it looks like we should probably be moving over to the ES then. All right. Gold CL. You go, Warren. Gold is a mover and shaker. Or it can be. I haven't watched gold for quite a while. Or at least I don't watch gold on the futures. I watch it in other forms, but not on the futures. So let's look at our ES setup, and I had a feeling that ES may be the market that most people would be wanting to watch, but wasn't quite sure. So this is what we're looking at on ES right now. All right, and I want to make this thing really clean and really simple for everybody. So first off, this chart here, just so that you, and I think I did this beforehand. No, I didn't. Well, I usually like to take my 15-minute chart and make it an RTH chart, just so that I can see where my gap is. Okay, so just from the previous day, but it looks like I have 24/7 type of data coming onto this 15-minute chart right now. All right. So right here we also see a big 60-minute demand zone right here, and we have a 60-minute supply zone up there. So when this thing bounces off of, like right in the middle of that 60-minute, off of the Globex low, or it could also happen on the Globex high. If it was bouncing off the Globex high in the middle of the zone, I would be really tempted to do something right there. Okay, but I put extra emphasis on the Globex high and low areas. All right. If we look at it as far as time of day trade goes, even though I watch a lot off the 15-minute charts, I like to enter off of a lower time frame. Usually it's off of a tick chart, but lately I've been trying to look at like a 1-minute chart just because a lot of times, like on the ES, I've been using like a 1200 tick. So I'm just going to bring up the 1200 tick zones for us, just so that we can kind of see what that looked like. I also looked at this a little bit before we started the webinar, and I saw that we were not only in the Globex low level, but we were also in a 5-minute level down here. So we had like that fractal nature of the markets all happening. That 5-minute level is actually pretty big. It goes all the way down there to the bottom of where that 60-minute level is, but it's about half the size, you know. So in this type of price action, what I'm looking for is red candle down, and then green candle engulfs the red candle. And I'm also paying attention to what type of candles we're getting here as well, just because I'm really big into price action trading and trading the bars. So we don't have the engulfing pattern happen right here on these two candles, but if we go one candle over, we exceed the high of this red candle at the Globex level. So what I like to do is I like to use the opens of bars. So, and this is going to be happening in the Apozones 4. So basically I would be wanting to place something right around in that area. Okay. If I was really feeling that price was going to be bouncing off of this Globex low level, obviously it exceeded the Globex level by a little bit, but it's still right around in that area. Now this is a pretty early entry, so we may get an initial push over into this area right over here. You see where the little pivot is, you know, and like maybe the opens actually didn't quite make it up there, but that's where I'd be looking at for like target 1. And your stop would be just below this. Now the ruler tool I find very, very helpful when I trade. So that's like I can measure out my risk and my reward. So I'm risking about 1 tick to make 1.75 ticks, or tick and 3/4, or a point and 3/4, something like that. So that's what I'm looking for on that one, and then I'll try to hold that into like the open, so to speak, because you're basically playing your Globex low trade there, and that one worked out really well. This trade over here on NQ also worked out really well, which I was able to get a hold of on this. Same type of deal. The Globex level was, actually no, it wasn't that close to a Globex level, but it was really close to a 60-minute level right there. So you see that big 60 EM line. We touched it once in the Globex right before the open, like 15 minutes before, and then once it reloaded in there again, and you got this big old hammer candle, it was just like yelling to go long up there. The only problem with this is your stop. So you had a 6-point stop, you know, but it was quickly overcome, you know, and you could easily get on the other side. So that was a real decent one for me, and it is a pretty easy grab on that, all in all. So that's what I did today, and I actually, Let's see if I can show trades here. So I actually got in a little bit late on this thing just because it was moving so fast. So I took my first target up there at Globex and then all the way up there. So it was a pretty good runner, but didn't do too bad of a job. And obviously it's going even higher now, so which is pretty crazy. So let's fast forward over to the right-hand side of our chart so we can read some price action together here. I'm sure that's probably what a lot of you would like to do. And if you guys have any questions as we're going through stuff, please don't hesitate to ask. There is no such thing as a bad question. Really want to make sure that this is very obvious for everybody to follow and hopefully very, very simple. Something about the ES chart that I have set up here is I don't have the app of time, which I like to use, and I have it over here, but it's more of just a little like 5 minutes before the top of the hour and 5 minutes after the top of the hour. I'm looking for those areas as well as the bottom. So a lot of times you're going to be seeing turns like you're seeing here on crude at those times. Okay. Now crude has been really, really choppy lately, so it's been tough. But you're still seeing a lot of those type of turns at the correct times. And on ES, I don't have those. Maybe I should load them on here real quick. But the idea is like at right around 7 o'clock, you'll probably see something. And this is Pacific time, so that's 10 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead and highlight 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock, somewhere in there. Yeah, and we see something. Let's look at that 7 o'clock time again. So obviously it just kind of jittered there. I would say 7:30 was a better retracement type of trade for you. And technically all these should be like equal size, just because we're on a 1 minute, so all those should be like 10 bars in size, so to speak. This exactly like right now, we're coming to like 9 o'clock was the high right there, and a failure to break the high. Okay, so let's zoom in here real quick. Okay, you see the failure to break the high, and obviously we're coming down. Now, the question is, do we have anything up there that's, oh, we do. Okay, so to me that's bouncing off of a 1200 tick. And how did I come up with a 1200 tick? Well, I've observed the ES for a while. I don't really trade it, but I know a couple things about it. So 1200 tick just seemed to be a really good tick chart for me. And actually the APA strategy is based off of a 1200 tick, just so that you guys know. I don't know how many people here have the APA strategy, but APA strategy is based off of a 1200 tick chart. And let's see if we have any more confluence up there at that level. I don't see any 60 Ms popping on our chart right there, but definitely that 1200 tick, failure to break the high type of deal. We could be moving up here. This could be a nice little bounce off of the Globex high. It wouldn't surprise me at all. NQ, I think, was doing something like that. Oh, nope, not quite. But NQ seems to be like leading the indexes for some reason. It's kind of interesting how that works. But this is what we're looking at here. So let me turn on a couple different zones here. You can kind of see how they change shape on the MTF stuff. And something else that I like to share with you guys is the active zones. Now, the active zones are actually just 1-minute zones, so they're pretty quick in forming. And when we're looking at the different time frames, I really consider like the entry charts like a 1 minute. Like all the zones forming off of a 1-minute time frame, those are just support resistance areas. Okay, so if they match up with time, they match up with your other time frames and the zones off of them, then sure, go ahead and do something there. But if they don't, don't go trading off of 1-minute zones just because it's a 1-minute zone. All right. Um, Actually, there's a couple things that I can elaborate on that as far as basic zone theory and trading in general. But a lot of times we will see retracements back into like 1-minute zones for possibly a good trend continuation. So my favorite trade is like the failed breakout. All right. So like this type of thing where it fails to break out higher, and then you just take it short. But a lot of times you can get a really good entry off of a fast-moving zone, so to speak, or a quick-moving, uh, how should I say it, fast-developing zone. So like off of a 1 minute, if you wanted to try to take a pullback up into this as that zone formed, that would be totally cool, you know. You can actually use pretty small stops on the ES if you do something like that. So looking at a little bit of SR, I don't see anything until down here closer to the Globex level based off of this price action over here. Okay. And right now we're coming into, we've surpassed the 930, which I feel is like the little failed breakout of this 1-minute zone slash like 150 tick area. You can actually see when the 150 tick zone formed, which was like on that bar right there. So any of these bars, and after the break of that, you could have said, hey, there's 150 tick resistance area forming here, and I'm just going to try to jump onto possibly a new trend to the downside. Okay, so that's totally a legit call. Are there any questions as of right now? Because I'm about to jump into trend following versus counter trend type of theory. Oh, Kurt uses the 6 range on the ES. Interesting. You know what, Kurt? Let's just look at what the 6 range is telling us. Okay, just for you. There's our 5 minutes, but you know what we can do with this? We can type in 6 on our MTF, hit range, and it recalculates everything for us, adding our 6 range zones in there for us to watch as well. Alright, so now that we've had all the zones back on our chart and the 6 range zones are there, the 6 range zone has, and obviously you can see it's this is a zone in green, right? Okay, and it has not disappeared. The reason why this thing has not disappeared yet, and I do like the area of where it is, this should be 6 ticks, and it is, all right, from top to bottom. So we are grabbing that 6 ticks range bar and superimposing the zone that was created off of there onto our chart. All right, so that's what that looks like. And basically what we're then also looking at right now is because price hasn't completed out another 6 range or 6 ticks in the downside, or in the upside from where the 6 range bar can placed off there, it hasn't removed the zone yet on the secondary time frame that is currently on there. So that's why that 6 range is still there. It hasn't gone up or down 6 ticks to give us a new range bar. So that is going to continue until that multiple time frame has a new range bar in one way or another. Okay, so it could happen as soon as we exceed the low here. You could see that demand zone disappear. But realize you're working with multiple time frames here. So like with Apizones 4, we're pumping out signals from MTF time frames. So a signal may appear somewhere in the middle of this bar, or like right before the next bar closes. Like it's going to vary based on when that multiple time frame period bar ended, not when your current bar ends. Okay, so for your multiple time frames, it's gotta completely expire as far as the bar goes, and that applies to the minute time frames as well. So all right, so there's a little pop below our support area there, and it's doing a real good job of stair-stepping off of this. Prior resistance becoming support. So on and so forth. It goes through, comes back, retests the previous lows. It's just a beautiful market. You can't ask for anything more than that. Now, there's going to be some type of resistance right around the Globex level, because over here we have this consolidation and stuff like that. So we're going to have some type of reaction down in this range. What is it going to be? I don't know. I don't have any 6 range zones there. Let's see if we have any 1200 tick zones. We have a 1200 tick below that down here, but we don't have it making the flip-flop at all. So maybe it will go all the way through the Globex, bounce around down here, and then come up. I'd be looking at that one, as well as I'd be looking at the active zones, just to see where that zone is. And if I put my 150 or 1200 tick on there, you can see like it overlaps here. So here's the 1200 tick and the 1 minute combined, and we have a 1 minute zone at the very bottom of that area there. Okay. You will also notice to the upside, we have, just to make this a little bit easier for you guys to see, there's a 1200 tick right there. Here is a 1200 tick going from that area up to that area. And all I do is I just look at the 1200T, and I just look for the next 1200T in red, and that's how I'm defining these zones. If we look at where price actually bounced off that 1200 tick zone, it just barely touched the high of the day so far, just barely touched that 1200 tick, and is coming down off of it. So the 1 minute bar or the 1 minute zone inside of there didn't act as any type of SRO, but it was, I would say that was good enough resistance for it not to penetrate that zone. So apparently the market makers are really defending that level for whatever reasons. However, looking at the big picture, it looks like we're moving from demand up to supply, right? So let's not get confused at what the big picture is telling us. And the other thing is, I like to put my 15-minute zones. Oh, where did my 15-minute zones go? Huh. Well, I like to put my 15-minute zones on here because I love 15-minute levels. I heard a lot of pit traders used to use them, and they seemed to work pretty well, even up to today. So I'm still thinking that we're moving from supply, or I'm sorry, from demand down here up to supply. And wow, how crazy is that one? Look at, talk about a beautiful bounce. That was like right there. Nice hammer candle, and away she goes. That was really nice. But look at where the entry that we had off of the 1 minute was, and why I used my like 1 minute or a lower time frame to get into a trade like that. Because that was there. If you're watching your 15-minute chart, that was there. You're inside of a 60 at the Globex low, like it was just pointing long. So, and obviously the zone's right there too on the zone line. So that's pretty cool too. So let's see what happens here. We came up. Oh, this is just stair-stepping really nice right now. Came up, retested the highs, made a new low, retested the resistance, the previous support becoming resistance. There's a level right there for you. Here's a level right there. So if you're a breakout trader, which way is it going to break out? The only thing I'd worry about is if it does break out to the high side, don't be surprised to see like a double bounce right up there. That's my analysis of the current markets. Let's just see what kind of happens here. Well, now I remember why I don't watch CES very much. It's pretty slow, especially during the lunchtime here. Meanwhile, let's move over to crude here, because this market is actually moving. If you look here on crude, we had like a failure to break the low, and crude has been extremely choppy today and actually for the past several days. So looking at this, this is again a 1 minute time frame, and you can see the 9 o'clock retest, which proved to be something. It really does seem to be making turns, either major or minor, on the tops and the bottoms of the hour. Had a nice little retracement trade, I guess you could say. Spike up there, and then a retracement down here at 9:30. And as we come into 10 o'clock, I would love to see a retest of this high. But we will see when that happens. Something to note is that this is a 15-minute moving average, I believe. No, this is not a 15-minute moving average. Excuse me. That is a 60-minute 20 moving average. So, my bad on that one. Not sure how that one got on my chart, but it is there. And that moving average is really close to where we just jumped up to. All right. But we did have kind of a On crude, we did kind of have a gap closure, if you will. And then it's just been down the entire day and extremely rangy, which is not common for this market. And you can see some of this stuff here, like it's been a lot of range, going back and forth. We went outside of the channel lines that I had drawn like last Friday, so I was thinking that we should draw an up channel on this thing, but it has actually surpassed those by quite a bit, as it jumped up to like 112 in the Globex session. It was pretty crazy. I do like to use channel lines, so saw this channel down here. Now we have kind of a channel up, but in my opinion, the channel line up isn't all that effective, as we gapped out of it and we've really stayed above it, this whole entire time. And now it looks like we finally came back into where a potential for the channel line would be drawn, and it's just barely touching that. So this thing's really extended quite a bit. Alright, so we're coming up to our 10 o'clock time. We had a retest of that level and a failure to break that. Okay, now we're breaking down below. We had a green candle up, red candle even higher, failure, and this could be a possible short setup. Alright, first place that I'm looking for resistance is right where my cursor is, and just to kind of draw a little line across here. But remember, price is probably not going to respect just a little line. It's probably going to be more of a zone. So I'm looking to try to connect some of these highs here on, it'll probably be on this side. Could actually be all the way up there. You see how that was the previous high right there, but then these other two were like right in there, so those could act as resistance. So I'm just going to draw it down a little bit lower, maybe something like that. But I kind of feel like I have one of those inverse support levels going on right here. So we'll see what happens, but I like the fact that it failed to break the high at the top of the hour, or as you see my bars are being, or the background is being printed gray. And I'm going to get rid of the 150 tick zones. Now, if this thing does pop the top and actually does go higher, that's kind of cool. But if it does, the way that I would jump onto the trend, if you will, if you're not going to play this right in here, would be development of 150 tick zone. Alright, so let's say this is like a perfect example. Alright, so let's say you triple bottomed on this thing right here at like 9 o'clock and stuff. So all you do is like wait until you see another like 150 tick zone form, and then of that same type, and then you could like get long on that. And that's something that I've noticed works quite a bit of the time for jumping onto trends and things. Alright, so there's a 150 tick demand popping in right there. And remember, this is just SR. That's all this 150 tick thing is. It's just support resistance. It's way too quick to be anything but that. But it's good to know where that SR is. Another failure to break the high. You have that hammer candle right there. Hopefully everybody can see and identify. I'm sorry, not hammer candle. It's shooting star. It's the inverted hammer or shooting star candle right here. Now the question is there really any reason for this thing to stop here? Other than being at the top of the hour, let me go measure something really quick here. Other than being the top of the hour and seeing where this zone is, look at our 15-minute chart if you guys will. See where those previous lows are? That is the only two reasons why I could see this thing dropping from here. Because we've based up here and we've dropped down below it, comes back up, just like what we were seeing on the ES, and then possibly another drop back down. Okay? So that's the reason, those are the two reasons why I like this level right in here. Plus it looks like it's the top of my channel line, but I don't know about the channel line just because this thing's really stayed outside of the channel line for quite a time. Even though it technically looks pretty as far as like a possible channel line goes, but you know, this line could be anywhere, you know, and I don't really like this line here at all, but it's just one of those possibility type of things. So I'm going to completely negate that, but time of day and the flip-flop of support becoming resistance is the reason why I like this level up here. There's also that 60-minute moving average, but I normally don't see that. It's definitely getting consolidated here. I love to take failures to break the high, by the way. That is my favorite setup. Alright, let's go back over here to the ES. Alright. So the ES did break up a little bit higher, but it looks like it's hitting that 150 tick zone that we're talking about, and it's coming back down into this area. And that's really what the 1 minute is good for, is just reading, well, for entries, reading quick support resistance. And like I said before, it looks like we're moving from demand down here up to supply. So we could, I think we could go all the way down to the Globex high level and then bounce up. But we could also, since this thing is consolidating here for quite a bit, and it is at the top of the hour, this may be all the deeper the retracement is, and we could break up to the upside. So in the grand scheme of things, it really does seem like we're moving up to like 1650. Just if you take off all the colored zones and all that stuff, and you just look at your 60-minute levels. That's why it's good to keep things in context, Like, yeah, we have support and resistance playing for us in the short term, but where do we see the long-term move, you know? Because if we can get on the right side of a long-term move, it's going to be a whole lot more profitable than, well, hey, it failed to break the high, so I'm going to go short. Um, well, you may get profitable here and you may make something, but running with the trend is going to be your friend, as they say. I mean, I know that's silly cliche, but yeah. So this thing is feeling like it's failing to break this. It looks like we've had a new demand zone on the current time frame come into play. Okay, so that's what that says as far as our consolidation is concerned. And these zones are really going to vary in size every single time because they're dynamic. Sometimes zones are really big, sometimes they're not so big. The 150 tick is relatively small compared to that 1 minute, you know. But this is what I do, is I just read support and resistance, and love to take trades at the tops and the bottoms of the hour. So like this thing for a short call is okay, for the reasons that I've given you. See what happens. It really needs to break this little level that I drew right there in order for me to feel comfortable. Like, if it breaks this low, then I feel like I've really got something there, and I want to let my runners run at that point. So, getting off my first 10 ticks, and just so you guys have an idea, like on this particular one, we're waiting for the green candle to be engulfed. So that would have been a potential entry short on the short side there at 53. And first target, well, you want to take it before that area right there at 11 ticks. So 10 ticks is probably where I would have put mine, which is right there. And then my second target's 30, and my third target is 100. Okay, so that's 30. Let me make this all pretty. And third target is 100. But with the way crude's been moving during the days here lately, we haven't been seeing a lot of 100-tick moves lately during the day session. We'll see 2 or 3 points in the Globex session, but yeah. So I'd actually do like 108, just because that's where that zone is down there. And you want to get I want to get my T1 just so that I can pay for my trade. I take off 75% of my position at T1, and then for T2, it's and T3, it's a third of what's left is T2 and T3. But when you get T2 and T3, especially when you get T3, it feels really good. So I don't know if there's any other questions here, but we are going on an hour now. Is there any correlation in between the top and the bottom of the zone and its strength? No, Bruce, there's not. It is completely based upon price action. I've seen 150 tick zones on crude oil be, 20 ticks big. I've also seen them be 3 ticks big. So it just really varies. It's the great thing about the zone theory is we're looking to identify consolidation first and foremost. So it can be whatever it wants to be, whether it's 4 ticks right there or 8 ticks right there. It's whatever. It can be completely dynamic. Look how big that zone is on top of where I drew my little deal. That's like 18 ticks big. So just really varies. Now the fact that they're stacked that close together, that tells me a little bit more than other things like how big the zone is, if you will. Okay? How big the zone is really doesn't help me at all. But the fact that they're stacked right on top of each other means that it feels to me a lot of times the market movers know exactly where the support or the resistance level is, and because they really don't want to hit that area and they want to defend it, they really push hard on protecting that level like they did when that level formed, and big green candle in there, pretty big wick, and price reverses at the open, type of deal. So if zones are close like that, I may take off this zone here. Oh, and I hit the time button. The time button actually colors those different time zones for us, or it takes it off. So right now I'm in the process of taking it off, but it does reload the whole entire chart when you do that. If you guys don't have the APA Zones timepiece yet, please let me know and I'll get you the link. So like they were really defending that level for some reason. So that means on the 1 minute it looked like the zones were really close together. So my question is, where is it on the bigger time frames? Does that level have significance on the other time frames? Or in this case it was actually like pretty close to a gap closure, right up there. And it basically just one-ticked it, and then it came back down off of it. All right, so that was like a gap closure to me. That's what those bars represent, which I think is kind of interesting. So they really wanted to go down. So ever since that happened at the beginning of the day, I was thinking, okay, let's get short. But then once it started ranging in between, like there's 250 tick zones for a good amount of time, I was like, it's just another range day, and I don't really like that so much. All right, so looks like price is coming. I'm going to retest the low of this area. Let's see if it breaks it or not. If we're really short here, that would be my entry. Of course, we could have also taken another one at that pretty much at that same exact level over here if you really, really wanted to. I feel like this is more aggressive type of an entry because at this point, all this red bar is telling us is it's an inside bar. Okay. If you're playing inside bars, what can happen is something like this right here. All right. Notice this inside bar. Okay, nice inside bar, kind of like what we have right here. Okay, same idea. But this inside bar happens, and then if you're taking an inside bar, like you really have to be quick on your entries, is what I've noticed. Is like when you come into that, you're basically going to play the edge of this, the outside bar, or the big green bar in this case, as a target, because you want to be, you don't know if that inside bar is really going to engulf this big green candle, all right? And if you're thinking short and you're taking it off of an inside bar, it could easily go against you, all right? So you really want to have your targets sitting at the bottom of this green bar somewhere in here. Now, on this particular case, I would have put it like this at the open, and if I was taking that, and it did not get there at all, you know. So like that would have totally been a stop out if I was doing such an aggressive entry, which I don't actually do those, but I'm just saying, like for instance, like this is what I've observed in the past. Again, like with this one, if you're taking this thing short after this inside bar forms, your first target would be like at the open of that green bar, which it did get, you know. So, but this is what I consider a pretty aggressive entry, and you wanna just be playing the big bar right next to it as your targets type of deal, because you're really aggressive. So just an observation. I love the single and the double bar in golf, which is awesome. If you Epizones soon will be coming out, or Epizones 4 will soon be coming out, and it identifies a lot of this stuff for us automatically. Okay, so we can apply this to the charts, and we can see what the signals will be here on the 1 minute for us. Now, even though I feel like when Epizones 4 comes out, it's going to be a very good step in the direction of automation, of a complete zone automation trading software, it's still only going to be semi-automated. And the reason being is determining contexts like this, like what I was just sharing with you with this resistance, or this support becoming resistance, that is something else to put in the computer. My brain is looking at probably 50 different things right there to tell you that this is support becoming resistance. Okay, now we're going to start with step 1. All right, and you got to program all that stuff into a computer before you hit step 1. All right, and that's a lot of conditions, a lot of statements, and a whole lot of processing to get into the first part of your entry to the short side, you know. So just realize that your computer is doing a massive amount of calculations that you may not even consider calculations when you are looking at a chart. All right, so we're going on an hour here, a little bit beyond. Hopefully this has been pretty helpful for everybody. Let's go ahead and look at the right side of our chart here. As you can see, this thing signaled short, 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 just as like right where I was talking. It said here's the short, here's the short, here's the short. It really labeled out a whole bunch of them for us right there, but pretty much all of them was at the level that I was telling you guys about. Actually, let me remove the level just so that you can see the lines that it drew. So you can see like it drew it at the exact same place. And that's just because, well, it's my logic into software. So you can see how it's thinking, how I'm thinking, and what that really looks like. So 9 o'clock was another, well, you would have to sit through a whole lot of chop for the next 20 minutes, almost 30 minutes, but worked out real nice. So you can kind of see my logic come into the play, and hopefully it makes some sense there as to why I'm thinking what I'm thinking, and how to get good executions off of a lot of these different levels. Okay, so I hope that it helps everybody. And this is just a little preview of the Apizones for software. So I hope that it does help, and we will talk to everybody next time.